Do you realize I had editing and so much work to do, but I just kept hitting next episode, next
Yeah.
episode.
I remember the first time I read the script, I got like a weird sense where I was like, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
gonna do this." And I loved the way, but just because you read something, a great script, doesn't mean that like the execution goes through. And then we got the actors that we got, and it felt like everybody was there because they were invested and they wanted to make something great and they cared. Like
mm,
there was no, oh, I'm doing this because, oh, what if winds up on Netflix? So like, oh, this is great because now I can get that, lake house that I want or something. Like there was
mm.
no strategy. It was all, I want to do this because I love this person that I'm playing.
I was talking to somebody earlier today, and we were having this conversation about social media has all of us like presenting this ideal, and often we're doing these jobs that seem glamorous in parts, and we get to interview awesome people like you.
Mhm.
But the reality is, all the other stuff is still going on at the same time. And in this series, I think what's showcased beautifully is Nate, the character you play. He's got this bar, and
Yeah.
somehow it becomes the hub for people to
Yeah.
come together. And
Yeah.
it feels like, why can't I live near a bar like that? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's also like a pretty noticeable lack of like social media in the show itself,
yeah.
which I thought was nice. Like, because yeah, it's a toxic hellscape that for some reason we all have just
Mm,
agreed to living in, but I love that these people were honestly and organically connected. That they met and they have grown with each other and it's yeah, it's just it feels good
it
without
does.
being like cute, like it's hard to do like
Yeah.
chemotherapy cute, like it's you just can't do it.
A lot
Yeah.
of times when new shows come out, they're being screamed and yelled. I mean, everyone's obsessed with Stranger Things. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you cannot go anywhere without seeing something Stranger Things related. You've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
part of massive shows. You're also somebody who supports independent, awesome, creative folk.
Thank you so
Does
much.
it worry you at all that you think, oh, I hope it doesn't get lost in all the other stuff that's got so much noise around it?
Totally. Well, that's why we got folks like you that to come
Oh,
in and
thank
help
you.
hype it. But yeah, no, of course it does because because there's so much content out there right now and there's so many
Yeah.
different ways of watching. You have no idea who or how
Mm.
your stuff is getting out there. That was in English. Basically, you don't know. I mean, yes, of course, I get very because this all kind of like came about and then boom, we're on
Yeah.
Netflix and then we're like, what's the date? And they're like, it's in 4 days. And you're like, oh, but
Mm.
thankfully it happened in a window that was like, it was after Stranger Things, like,
Yeah.
in between other shows that are coming out. And so I think it did hit a nice pocket and we're seeing people are watching it. Like we saw friends of mine in Australia and in Ireland and in Canada have all like sent me screen grabs that like it's in the top 10 for them there.
Yeah.
And trying to get in the top 10 in Netflix US is its own hurdle,
Of
but
course.
even if it didn't, that's actually still okay because it needs to find the audience that it needs to find and find
Yeah.
like we don't need um like a Stranger Things level explosion of a TV show type thing. We want people to find it and love it and show up for the show whenever they can. And, again, like having, as you said, like been on Pretty Little Liars was like a phenomenon, all those years
Huge.
ago.
Still is.
It's still going. Good God.
It's
Um,
not leaving you.
it's beyond me now,
Yeah.
but I felt what it was like to have your show go from like 0 to 100 overnight.
Mm,
And I want for this show to find a strong, sizable audience, but just have people that show up for it and love it. And
yeah.
because that's what the actors do for the work, that we show up and we
Mm.
love it. So if there's that sort of mutual relationship, I think that's what I want.
It's well put
Oh yeah,
together.
yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
there's no big massive name. Yes, Bill Skarsgård is back as Pennywise, but you don't
Yeah.
see him till episode 5 or 6. But the
Yeah.
reason why I bring that up is it's so cool and it's just brilliant. It's one of the most refreshing, scary things I've watched in a long time. But people are
Yeah.
finding it organically, and I
Yeah.
think I genuinely do feel that there's something quite special in something that you don't expect, and then you watch it,
Yeah.
you hit play, and you're like, and it
Yeah.
hits you. You're like mind blown. No one's forced
Yeah.
this on me. I genuinely love this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the stuff that you want. Because again, I think sometimes when people are like, "Oh, have you seen the new
Yeah.
Name Your Giant show?" And
Mm.
I'm like, I just because everybody loves it right now, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
watch it. As opposed to somebody saying like, "Oh yeah, that one show is cool." But by the way, did you hear this show called Ripple? Like, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
think I heard about that." Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I want to watch, and
And
not like, yeah,
the themes, there are so many different themes, but I'm wondering, I know in the moment I was watching it, it had me in my inner dialogue thinking about some of the conversations I have been having with numerous friends.
yeah,
For you taking on a role like Nate, and the thing is, boy, does he go on a journey. No
yeah,
spoilers,
yeah,
but there is so much from his personal health to love to a
Mhm.
connection, being a dad, a
Yeah,
friend. Do you have a moment afterwards where you're just like looking at your own life and just
yeah.
thinking about it?
Well, I think a really well written character, to sound like a pretentious actor for a second, is going to
Go on.
is gonna hold a mirror up to your life, and he was such a complex mirror because he got to, he experienced all these things where, we had to walk the line of like, he's
Mm,
still on good terms with his soon-to-be ex-wife, but trying to wrap that up. But then now he's has this illness and he's also trying to be a business owner. And then he meets this person. And what does that mean? And so he was just such a feast that, um, and what also helped was that I had so many scenes with Julia,
love her.
who she was amazing and is I just the person that you would process all this stuff with. And we talked about
Yeah.
them as if they were friends of ours that we knew. Like, what is going on with Nate? And you're like, so we got to like explore every avenue
Yeah.
with him. So I'm grateful that Michelle Genius have said, like, yeah, let's hire this Ian guy because um there's no kind of like sometimes you'll play a character and you start to realize like, so
Yeah.
this is his shtick, and I'm just gonna
Mm.
ride this out until they, cancel us in season 5 or whatever. But with him, it's like, oh, this is a person that like as
Yeah.
when I've talked to Michelle about like a potential like what would that look like for season 2, there's kind of like so many places it could go that I don't really know off the top of my head. Like, oh, well, it'll obviously be burnt, and Michelle's like, no, it might be. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
scriptive at all, me making noises, but you know, um, yeah, he's a gift.
I needed to see people like this, honestly, because sometimes you're just like, where are all the good people? Also, why did people not just stop and help each other and say
Oh,
hi? Like it
yeah.
sounds crazy, but
Hmm.
do, do you get that like me? Because especially in
Yeah.
your industry, it's all like show, like our industry, it's all show and smiles and red carpets. Do
Yeah.
you see the importance of what a show like this can hopefully
From
remind us all of?
it's touching on the topic of like, here's what we got to do in this,
Yeah.
global catastrophe over here. Like, here's what, it's not it doesn't get on a pedestal at all. It
No.
doesn't, it's just human. And in a way that is both refreshing and also like very familiar. It's both kind of painful. It's not an easy watch, but it is also like aspirational at the same time. It
Yeah.
is kind of a mess of contradiction. And what I noticed well, among the many things, like when I first read this was
Mm.
like, oh, I just I just love these people. And this is almost like, yeah, it's the world that I want to live in. Not because it's an easy world. I mean, again, like
No.
by the 10th fake IV bag that I get hooked up to, it's like that's certainly not even just faking it
Yeah.
is brutal.
Yeah.
Um, but it was still something that like I appreciated these people's um resilience, their like longing and sort of push towards connection and this sort of building of a community
Yeah.
out of nothing. And I just thought, oh, that's amazing. That's what you aspire to so much. And it felt very authentic, which again, like you, as you said, there was a time when I
Yeah.
was living in LA and I was like, where are the humans? Right? Like where
Where?
are they? And that where's the humanity? And thankfully I found it. on Ripple.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
also have some lovely friends that have reposted because there are times like that where you think, oh, I do have people that care about me because I haven't asked them. And when people do things like that, I think it's nice because it just reminds us all that we all need to be seen and supported, but
Mhm.
sometimes we don't want to ask, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, I've definitely done a few things where people have where it's been quiet. You know, it's been pretty quiet, which is good. Nobody like no none of my friends were like, that movie was terrible. Yeah, they just like I just don't hear anything. And that's all right, that's fine.
Yeah,
But thankfully people have been like coming out of the woodwork. Like
yeah,
it's and not in a way that feels like, hey man, you're on TV. Like it was very much a like, hey, I love this show. I
yeah,
was maybe not expecting to, given some of like I was not expecting to given some of the storylines, but I loved it. And
yeah.
you like, make more of it. And I was like, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you
yeah,
so
you
much.
too. Yeah.
Um, Keep rocking. I hope it does big things. And thankfully, it's good to hear you talk about a season two.
Yes. Oh my God. Your lips to God's ears, please.